Hi, everyone, and welcome to my talk about skills that teachers lack. First, I'm going to talk a little bit about myself, and then we move on to the good stuff. My name is Elena Sarnavskaya. I'm a teacher and teacher trainer. I'm from Podolsk. It's a small city in Moscow region. I'm a full Delta holder, a TEDx speaker, and I've been doing this for quite a long time now. And by this, I mean conferences for like 7 or 8 years already. And I really love it. So I hope you enjoy my talk because I know I will. I'm a freelance teacher now. I used to own language schools, but I closed them last year. I do courses for teachers online, and I create worksheets that you can buy and use for your classes. They're amazing. And all of this is going to be on my website. I'm going to share the link to it when I finish my talk. So stick to the end. Alrighty, so let's dive right in. We have a pretty interesting topic today about skills. I'm just going to talk about a few because I don't have a lot of time. Honestly, you could, like, if you list 10, 15 skills, you could probably talk about this for at least one day. We're not going to do that. Let's take it one thing at a time.
Хотите постоянно развиваться в преподавании иностранных языков? Школа Дмитрия Никитина проводит образовательные тренинги, конференции и курсы для преподавателей. Подробности о событиях можно узнать по ссылке в описании.
So let's discuss hard skills and soft skills. First, I'm going to ask you to do something. Pause this recording and think about hard skills and soft skills that you think teachers should have. Just think about any skills that pop into your head. Maybe make a list and turn the recording back on when you're done. Okay, pause. Unpause. All right, welcome back. I'm going to share a very, very short, tiny list of both hard skills and soft skills that I have here as examples. Maybe there is something that you came up with in here too. So let's start with the hard skills, such as subject matter expertise, which in our case means English, solid foundation in educational theory and instructional strategies, which basically comes down to methodology, what we call methodology, assessment and evaluation, and technology integration. Of course, there are more. These are just a few examples of hard skills. Is there anything that you came up with? Maybe there is. All right, soft skills. Empathy, adaptability and flexibility, communication skills, collaboration skills, and cultural competence. These are just 5 examples. Of course, there are more. Probably it matches some of your examples because some of those things are pretty obvious. Soft skills are a pretty common topic to discuss, and it has been for quite a few years now, I guess. So when you think soft skills, you probably associated with something like empathy and flexibility and stuff like that, communication, and being able to work with others and so on and so forth. So these are like the most common things that pop into your head when you hear soft skills. And it's great that more people are aware of what soft skills are. But we're not going to talk about them. That's a spoiler right there. We're going to talk about something else, something less obvious. Hopefully it's less obvious because whenever I read something or hear something about soft skills in teaching, it is usually being discussed in the context of students, as in what soft skills you should develop in your students, or what soft skills are the easiest to promote in your students, or something like that, like how soft skills can be integrated into this and that program. So it's usually all about the student, which is okay, right? The lesson is all about the student, and our work basically is all about the student. But this is a conference for teachers. So I thought that maybe I should take a look at soft skills from a slightly different perspective. And I hope it will seem different to you and you haven't heard a lot of talks based on this. And I'm going to talk about soft skills that teachers should have, but pretty often they don't. We don't, right? Yes. Okay. So less obvious, patience. That's our number one. We're only going to have two, and this is our big number one, patience. So when do teachers need patience? Can you think of a few examples? You can pause the recording if you want and brainstorm a few examples. Pause. Unpause. This is weird, actually, to do this with just myself. Anyways, I hope you came up with something. And I think that you came up with something that most people will come up with, including me, like when students misbehave or when students don't understand something for a long time. So when something like this happens, and all of those situations, they come up quite frequently, right? So you need a lot of patience. Okay, so why we sometimes lack patience? Let's look at a few reasons. First of all, sometimes we are pressed for time, and this is something that we cannot control as teachers. For instance, if you work in a language school or something like that, or a public school, you would have time, some particular deadlines that you are supposed to meet, or other constraints that are imposed by those institutions, and you are forced to push your students sometimes. So you need to cover like this amount of pages in this amount of time, and you start pushing your students, and sometimes when they can't keep up, you would, lack patience. Parents' involvement is a great thing, absolutely great. But pretty often we find ourselves in situations when we only interact with parents when something goes wrong or they think something went wrong. And when everything is a-okay, they would just, be silent, total radio silence. Feeling that you're doing the right thing, because sometimes when you think that you're helping, you're not helping. Yeah, we're going to talk about this one in particular in more detail a little bit later. This is an interesting one. And just being a human when sometimes something happens and happens out of the blue and you're just not feeling it, and you lack patience today or for a few days. This can happen just because you are a person. Okay. Whew. So let's see at a few elements that patience consists of. First one is acceptance. Not everybody will study at the same pace, especially in mixed ability groups. Actually, in general, I can say that most groups or all groups are mixed ability to some extent, because, not everyone is the same, and you can't possibly expect two people to study equally all the time. So sometimes the difference is just slight. Sometimes the difference is significant. I mean, in how fast your students will grasp the material. Of course, the bigger the difference is, the harder it will be for you to work with this group. But you can't possibly expect them to do this at the same time. And it's okay if some of your students are not as fast as the others. I used to think that there was something wrong with them. Then I used to think that there was something wrong with me and my teaching. I improved my teaching significantly since I first started, obviously. And now if somebody is a little bit behind, it's easier for me to take it as a person, because I know that this is not about, like, there is nothing wrong with anyone here. It's just normal. This is such a simple thought, yet it used to sort of eat me alive, because I kept reflecting on it and kept thinking that there was something wrong with my teaching or with the students. Maybe they should be, in different groups. Sometimes they do, but pretty often you would feel irritated and lose your patience, forget about it. But in the end of the day, it turns out that it's actually normal and not that bad. Scaffolding. Scaffolding is key to everything. You need to adapt your lessons according to your students' needs and pace. Yes, scaffolding is hard because if you teach higher levels, maybe it's a little bit easier on you because you don't have to scaffold as much in terms of language, at least. But there are a lot of things to like study skills that still like C1 students can lack that you need to prep them for. And the more you teach, the more experienced you become, the easier it should be for you to be able to take this and not lose your temper, because sometimes some things that are obvious to you are not obvious to other people, and some things that you think are clear need to be scaffolded, and it's okay. So first you need to scaffold everything and feel okay if someone doesn't understand it. What I found really helpful in treating this lack of patience in terms of scaffolding is teaching low levels, like complete beginner adults. They taught me a lot. I taught them a lot, and they taught me a lot in terms of patience and how to look at things from different perspective, because it's really useful to look at things from their perspective, and it's really useful actually for you to start learning something else. This doesn't have to be a language. This can be some skill that you don't have, and you start learning and see how your teacher, trainer, instructor, whatever, behaves and how they scaffold things, and whether you are able to grasp it. This helps a lot to work on looking at things from your students' perspective and see how for them something that you do might not be obvious and frustrating sometimes. Controlling things, refraining from reacting impulsively or negatively. As teachers, we want to control things sometimes, all the time. This is one of my problems, and it has been for a long time, and I'm working on it. I'm always working on it. I don't think I will get rid of it forever, but I'm getting better. I'm getting better at it. Because losing control seems like you're not doing your job properly sometimes, so you want to control everything that's happening in the classroom, but it's not your goal. It's not what you need to do, because in order to achieve autonomy for you students, you need to be able to let things go, and this is a big deal. Motivation, obviously encouraging your students to keep going when it gets hard. So definitely you should get angry if it gets hard for them. You should be more inspirational, understanding, and motivational. And just like I said, like a lot of working on a lot of those things, all of them are connected, will help you look at things from another perspective. Of course, autonomy, stepping back. This is closely connected with control. So stepping back when you need to and allowing some independence in your students, giving them a chance to learn. Because of course they learn better if they discover stuff themselves, when they come up with stuff themselves, and you just facilitate the process. So you have to really remember that lesson is not about you, it's about the student. And of course, feedback, and whether you always give constructive feedback that highlights both strengths and weaknesses, and whether this feedback is always constructive in terms of appropriacy too, because sometimes You know how you would get this homework that your students hand in, and you start checking it, and it's terrible. It's like really bad. And you're looking at it, you're reading it, and you're thinking, oh my God, so this person just spent like 5 minutes probably on this, used Google Translate, didn't read the task because it's, just completely different from what I asked them to do, and so on and so forth. So the homework is terrible. And you start thinking that they are wasting your time, like, hitting you personally, wasting your time, making you check this, spend, the whole 5 minutes on reading this instead of, doing something more useful. So you could be doing something else. And I have this problem too, taking things personally, and which used to influence my feedback a lot, but now I've improved a lot too. So we're going to talk about it a little bit later too. And I think it's a big problem for many teachers to, stop taking things that students do personally as a personal hit on you.
Хотите постоянно развиваться в преподавании иностранных языков? Школа Дмитрия Никитина проводит образовательные тренинги, конференции и курсы для преподавателей. Подробности о событиях можно узнать по ссылке в описании.
Okay, so all of those things together, and neglecting some of those things, or one or a couple of those things, they would have an impact on your teaching. Let's have a look at a few examples. For instance, you can get angry or frustrated if your students don't understand new things right away. Yes. Pushing your students when they need more processing time. For example, beginner silent period, as in you would think that there's something wrong with them or you if they haven't started speaking like in a couple of weeks. Or if you gave your students instructions and they, just didn't start doing the task immediately. So you think there's something wrong and you start repeating yourself. Oh, there we go. Repeating yourself, answering your own questions, not allowing thinking time, not allowing your students to process information, and just, doing all the stuff yourself. This, a lot of those things are about control. And, when you think that your students didn't get it, you just think, okay, they will be faster if I just, we'll answer this and we get it over with and move on. Sometimes you would think that, but it's not a good thing to do. And of course, you end up with a teacher-centered classroom instead of a student-centered classroom. Please do raise your hand. This is what I'm going to do when I have live audience, but do raise your virtual hands if you have done any of those things or all of those things. Definitely, I've done all of those things many times. I've done those things prior to doing my CELTA. I've done those things actually many times after. And I think, prior to Delta and after Delta, I did all of this several times, because this is not about education. This is not about hard skills. This is about soft skills. And this is not something that you get taught in courses like that. So no matter how experienced you are, you can still, have problems with these things. So an obvious tip to take a step back. I know how simple it sounds. Just like, take a pause, count to 10, calm down, be rational about it, and think whether it's really worth getting angry about, or whether it's really about you, and whether it's a personal hit on you. But in theory, this is all super simple. But in practice, like a few people would do this. I don't have the statistics for this, but I'm guessing like not more than 1 in 100 would do this, would actually pause, count to 10, and think about whether they should get angry right now, or, nervous, or whatever the emotion, lose their temper or not. This really helps. I started doing this a lot. And this helps me a lot because I have a very short fuse. It's very easy to get me angry, to get me going, to get me all riled up. And sometimes it can be some small things for some reason, which I can't explain myself. So something else maybe that happened during the day can start making me angry, and then I would get angrier when something happens during the lesson, and I was just, lose it a little bit, not be patient enough, at least a little bit, not lose it as in, like the Hulk, but, be less constructive than I'm supposed to. And this pause thing really helps me out. I've been doing this for like a year now, and I think my teaching in terms of this improved dramatically. Okay, so help yourself stay or become more patient. These are some tips from me, and I think I've become a lot more patient this year, and this is something I've been working on this year. Actually, I have not been working on my hard skills so much because my expertise for now is like about enough for what I'm doing. I decided to focus on something else a little bit, and it's actually helping the hard skills too. So this is a great thing. First of all, it's self-reflection and self-awareness. Ask yourself very simple questions after lessons. Was I patient enough, or did I get angry, and why? So whenever I actually got, angry-ish, I would put a tick in my notepad that I have right there next to my computer, or if I have an offline class, it's the same as just I put a tick in a notepad and see how many times I almost got angry or got a little bit angry. And was it something I could actually control and change? So what is the reason I got angry? Was it something that happened before the lesson that actually got me going? Or if it's something like students' homework that I didn't like and I got angry, why? And is it really, should I be taking this so personally? Did they really mean to hurt me? Did I push my students during the lesson, or do they need extra support? So watch the dynamics in your group and see how the weaker students are doing and whether they need more of your attention. Was my feedback constructive, or was it too harsh? Then again, did my emotion influence how I delivered feedback to my students? And did I allow thinking time? So did my students have a chance to process the information and work out the answer before I actually, lost a little bit of my patience and gave them the answer? So be aware of your own strengths and weaknesses like that. Do positive self-talk. It may sound lame to some people, but it really works. As in, I'm capable of handling this calmly, or I can stay patient and focused, or I shouldn't take it personally. Whatever it is with you, you can use any phrase that helps you. This really should be written by you because you know yourself better. I shouldn't take it personally really works for me. I've been using it. It helps me. Set realistic expectations. So you're supposed to actually know a lot about your students and be aware of their abilities, their strengths and weaknesses. So you can set realistic expectations of what they can really do and achieve, and what they cannot do, to prevent yourself from pushing them. So whenever you feel like you started pushing them and they're struggling, think about whether you should be pushing them right now and whether you're being realistic and rational, because sometimes things that are obvious to you are not obvious to other people, and it's okay. There's no reason to, get pissy. And focus on solutions. So focus on the positive things. Instead of thinking about the problems, focus on finding solutions and taking steps to address them. Break down larger problems into smaller, manageable things to do. Consult colleagues looking for ways to solve these problems. I have a chat with my teacher friends, and whenever I have a dilemma in my teaching, I just write it there, and I ask for advice, or I post it in my blog. So actually, at the end of this talk, you're going to see a QR code that leads to my Telegram channel. And feel free to, if you don't have a community like that, feel free to write any problem you have in your teaching in the comments for any post. I will see it and I will post it. I post other people's problems. And some other people, some other teachers answer to that and give some tips. Okay. Avoid stress being a part of your lesson. I know what it sounds like. I know that it sounds like if you feel bad, stop feeling bad kind of tip. But it is what it is. I'm sorry. Yes, we all have stress, regardless of what we do. But if you're feeling anxious, try to leave the causes of this stress behind the classroom doors, because this will influence your lesson 100%. It's very common to say that like it's a bad thing to take work home, but what about vice versa, right? Nobody says about taking home to work, as in taking your personal problems and bringing them to work. This is also a big thing. I can give you one short example. I have a lot of examples of this. It's not like I just had this situation once in my entire career. Of course, I had this many times, but this was like a big deal, and I remembered it because I bought a new iPhone. This was years ago, and it was pretty expensive, and I wasn't making a lot of money. And it's still expensive, actually. It's very hard to keep up with iPhone prices, salary-wise. So anyways, I got this iPhone, which I really wanted, and I was very excited about it. And I dropped it right before my class started in the evening. I dropped it and I cracked my screen. And I cracked it so bad, it wasn't working. Well, maybe it was working, but I didn't see anything because the screen was completely cracked. It was pretty bad. So you couldn't see anything or use the phone. And I was devastated, obviously, because I just bought it like 2 days ago. That was crazy. I spent like all the money that I had on this phone. And I was, it was a range of emotions that I was experiencing. And my lesson started, and it was bad. Yeah, it was pretty bad. I was distracted. I was angry, not because of the students, right? They didn't have to do anything with it. I was just angry because this happened, and because I had to spend more money now, right? Because I had to fix the screen. I was distracted because I was thinking about my own thing. I was sort of, teaching, using autopilot to teach, sort of. I think you know what I mean. Like I was teaching, but I was somewhere else. And when they were doing something student-centered, instead of observing them, I was using my laptop to Google where I can go right after the lesson to get my iPhone fixed. This is pretty bad. And you can, like, from the one hand, you can understand why I felt like that and why this lesson sucked. And of course, this was such a big deal for me. And yeah, things happen. But on the other hand, so I broke this iPhone. It was already broken before the lesson. Could I possibly do anything? Is there anything I could have done to, fix the situation during these 90 minutes with the phone? No, right? It was my 90 minutes that I should be teaching and doing nothing else. And obsessing about this problem did not, help my teaching and did not help the problem. So what I'm saying is this is a control issue. The lesson time is when you teach students, and there's nothing else you can possibly solve or do during this time. So there is no adequate reason for you to worry about those things while you teach. And, once you can explain this to yourself, it gets a lot better and easier to take things like that. So you work with people, and many of you work with teenagers and kids, and this is a great responsibility because your students, of course, feel it when you're not in the mood, sort of, and when you're angry for no reason, when you're distracted and not involved into their lesson. This is not a good thing. So explaining this control thing to yourself is key to worrying less, and this is just generally good for you, right? All right, let's move to the second thing really quickly. Look at those words: mental toughness, flexibility, determination, and positive outlook, and think about what soft skills you think combines all of these features. Pause and unpause. Okay, so the soft skill is resilience. Oh, it's a good one. It's a good one. It's the ability to adapt and bounce back when something happens, something doesn't go according to the plan. So first, it's about handling challenge. Teachers constantly have to think on the spot to make decisions. Like, for instance, lessons don't go according to the plan. You need to adapt on the spot. Or this happened to me several times. Like, I was covering someone's class, and I was told that I should cover like page 55. And when I come to class prepared, students say, "Oh, we already did that." And you don't have anything, and you have to teach those people for 90 minutes. That's crazy. Yes, and this of course causes stress, and this in this case you just need to improvise. What helped me stay more decisive and calmer and more rational is gaining more knowledge and experience to have more confidence and control. So as in, when I never know what's going to happen, so I should know what to do in most situations. This of course is experience, and this of course is knowledge that you can get from somewhere, books, other people, watching somebody's class, and so on. I don't teach kids at all, and I used to cover those kids box classes for a couple of months because nobody else could do it. It's not that I could really do it so well, but still, I mean, I can do okay lessons with kids, but I was not feeling confident at all because I never teach them, so it was uncomfortable for me. So for anything that could possibly happen, I designed like extra activities that I brought with me. And after like a month, I already memorized a lot of things that I could do on the spot if something goes wrong. So this is what I'm talking about. So work on the base of things that you could do without preparation in case something happens. This gives you a lot of confidence and improves your ability to bounce back. All right. The next one is, of course, adapting to change. Education is evolving all the time. There are new technologies. There are maybe some new kind of curriculum standards that you need to follow. I think you all remember how the pandemic started and we all had to convert to online teaching right away. We had like a day to do this. That was crazy, but we had to, switch and learn pretty quickly. And a lot of people stayed online after this. So I guess it's a good thing to embrace change, right? And it's a good opportunity for growth and professional development because a lot of people found their passion teaching online and found new opportunities to find some students from abroad that they could teach and maybe earn more money. So ultimately, this is a good thing. But I think as many of you, I am a dinosaur and I like teaching offline, and I, of course, like things the way they were. And I still am adapting to teaching online. All of those years passed, and I'm still adapting. I'm still in the process. I don't think made my peace with it completely, but I'm working on it. So remain flexible, open-minded, and willing to adapt. Because, actually, the educational landscape is changing, right? We now have Gen Z as our students, and those people have attention span, which is way different from the attention span that we have or had. Actually, I think my attention span is now different from what it was like 10, 15 years ago. Now it's shorter. And this happened to me as an adult. So you can imagine what happens to kids who watch only short videos all the time. So their attention span is different, and we have to adapt our thinking and our teaching to whatever the new needs are.
Хотите постоянно развиваться в преподавании иностранных языков? Школа Дмитрия Никитина проводит образовательные тренинги, конференции и курсы для преподавателей. Подробности о событиях можно узнать по ссылке в описании.
Okay, so the next one is setting boundaries, which sounds a little bit like you should set boundaries between you and your students, but this is not what I mean at all. You should establish clear boundaries between work and personal life to prevent burnout. I know this is a cliche. Yes, I know, but it's very important to say no to some work demands and some stuff that you don't want to do and you think will be too much. You have to prioritize tasks based on importance and urgency. Maybe some things you will just delegate, ask someone else to do this, and protect your personal time. By all means, protect your personal time and make self-care a non-negotiable aspect of your routine. I have not been working on Sundays for at least 8 years. This is big progress for me because before that, I used to work all 7 days a week. And now for years, Sunday has been my day off. Saturday is my day off-ish because sometimes I have courses for teachers that last for like a month or a couple of months. And in this case, I work for a couple of hours on Saturdays, but in general, I say no to all the students that want to study on Saturday. Just no, no, and no. I don't have any classes on Saturday. Now I'm going to say no in this new year. I'm going to say no to late classes. This is a new thing for me. So it's okay if you don't, change your system completely like this. It's okay if you take your time. Now, as a freelancer, this is new experience for me. I find that it's very hard for me to set these boundaries, and I'm working on it. So next year, I'm doing this no evening classes, no late classes thing. And I hope it works out for me. And next year, I'm going to do something else. Also, what really helps me to set these boundaries is renting an office that you can see right here or right now. This beautiful office is where I work, and this is where I teach all of my classes, my offline classes and my online classes. So I have to go to work to teach. I can't work at home because when I close this door, work is over for me. I don't have a computer at home. So even if I wanted to, like late in the evening, I would be sitting and thinking, oh, maybe I should, finish creating that worksheet that I wanted to create by February the 14th. Maybe I should do it right now at 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. I can't because I don't have a computer. This is a great example of how you can, draw this line. This helps me a lot, and this is how I get my rest, because otherwise I will start working at home. This is 100%. So to sum up, getting better at what you do is not always about all the courses that you attended, all the qualifications and certificates that you got, and all the experience that you've gained and knowledge and so on and so forth. Sometimes it's also about being able to handle things and stay sane, So please stay sane. Thank you very much for your attention. Stay in touch. These are my contacts. This is my blog on social media that does not exist anymore. So please don't go here and don't Google it. This is my Telegram channel that I was talking about. This QR code also leads to this channel. So feel free to join and feel free to write about some of your problems that you want discussed in any of the comments. I will see them and I will post them. And check out my website where I have all the updates about my courses for teachers and about my worksheets that I create on a regular basis. Usually it's about some holidays like Halloween, Christmas, and so on. So please check them out. They are amazing and beautiful. Thank you very much for your attention. Have a nice day.